Hello, hello. Welcome home, my bar-san. Hello. It looks like your parents aren't here. My, was I in a bit of a slump? Well, shit, doesn't that make things even worse for Keiichi? Doesn't even, well, actually, that probably is for the best, really. If his parents actually were there, then they'd be asking, what's Keiichi done, officer? He came all the way to my house. I could only thank my good fortune that my parents were absent. Since none of them was around at this hour, they would probably be back late. I think Dad got called out on business. I don't think he'll be back until later. I see. Well, that's convenient, I suppose. We can do this without giving your parents any strange ideas. Ooishi-san pushed my back, prompted me to walk. It seemed like he wanted me to get in the car. Now you take me to the police station. I wasn't the culprit, but I was the cause of everything. It wouldn't be weird if he wanted to investigate me. That kind of gave me a resigned feeling. No, I just don't want to stand around talking. We can just talk in the car, that's all. Come now, don't be shy. He opened the back door and urged me inside. If I get in, I would have a very easy time getting out. If I said no, however, then this man might really handcuff me and take me away. I couldn't refuse, I could only accept in good grace. The inside of the car had been cooled too much by the air conditioner, and there was a rusty smell coming from the filter, which must have been cleaned only rarely. Oh, is it too cold? I'll turn the car off. He turned off the engine, and it suddenly became quiet, and the voices of the Higurashi, with all their cool loneliness, snuck inside. It's not quite it's like, I don't know. How would you emulate the sound of a Higurashi? Like, no, that's more of a fly, really, isn't it? Sounded to me like a chorus of voices lamenting my extortionate punishment for having harbored such foolish curiosity. Can you guess what is going on here? Create atmosphere. Man, that sounds really laid back there, didn't it? It's like, no, man, the atmosphere should be more tense than that. Well, it does describe the atmosphere as cool with the chorus of the voices and all that of the Higurashi. I thought I'd just like, if it's a chorus of that, it's like, allow me to give you a musical accompaniment to your already beautiful voices, you annoying little shits. For a few moments, while listening to those voices, I myself lamented the days that had been twisted and distorted since that night. Ooishi-san, as if waiting for me to voluntarily begin talking, lit a cigarette and listened to the Higurashi. The sounds became deafening, and I was the one who filled it first. How is the investigation going? The investigation? Of what? There's been so many, which do you mean? You piece of shit, Ooishi. All of them. Well, all right then. They're officially secret investigations and we're under a media blackout, but I'll let you in on them. Then shall we start from the first incident? The freak deaths of Sonozaki-san and Takuma-san on the night of Watanagashi. On this one, embarrassingly enough, we haven't made any progress at all. First of all, Sonozaki-san. There are indications on his body that he was assaulted by a group of people. But we have no explanation for him clawing out his own throat and dying. We suspect an overdose from a stimulant or something, but we didn't detect anything. What about Takno-san. The same we're in the dark. Autopsies for those who are burned to death are real tough. We believe she was dousing gasoline after she was strangled. That one falls under the Gifu Prefecture's police department. They haven't been very cooperative, even though it happened in our territory. Oh, that's not really relevant. So the police didn't know anything other than the fact that the victims died inexplicably. The Gifu Prefecture. Why does that sound familiar? Was that prefecture used in the setting for Kano Shoujo? I can't remember. There are quite a few prefectures on the map, and some of them that the protagonist would actually go into because there were locations of interest and note. Nonetheless, the times where the incidents occurred have been generally placed right after the festival ended. It's a bit uncertain in Takno-san's case, but the likely prospect is that she was murdered in about the same time as Sonozaki-san, then dumped in the mountains in Gifu. Why would they bring a dead body all the way to the mountains? They should have just brought Sonozaki-san out there too. Oh my Bara-san, you're quite sharp in the notes. Of course, I do believe that is something we need to be attentive to. There are a bunch of other suspicious things, but this is about all I can tell you at this point. How about the mayor? Have there been any clues? Having exhausted that topic, I'll change the subject. Otherwise, he might turn the conversation on me. We investigated his movements on the day he disappeared. We didn't find anything that could provide any clues, but I'll tell you about it anyway. The mayor, Keiichi, apparently he was suffering from severe hemorrhoids. Oh, that's embarrassing. It's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, People who've lived a long life have an unusual amount of pride. So the mayor hadn't been telling anyone that he was going to a proctologist at a certain university hospital in Shishibone. On the day he disappeared, he had an appointment for a checkup, so he went out first thing in the morning. Even though I knew that big hospitals like university hospitals had a really long waiting time, apparently people who would get in line hours beforehand, even if they had an appointment. That's the annoying thing about hospitals, isn't it? If you, get an appointment, you arrive and then you're waiting longer than you actually are. I remember this one time I went, see a dermatologist because, the skin on my left hand was a bit and flaky-ish looking, and I was it took forever for to get an actual appointment. Then when I got to the hospital, long waiting time, get the appointment, just look at it, and instantly it's I see what the problem is. Okay, apply this on it this amount of times a day. That was that. It's over instantly. It's just how the hell is the wait? Well, it's obvious because it varies in time that it takes, isn't it? It took more time telling the assistant or wherever, just oh yeah, I'm here for this and that and blah blah. Then the actual person came in and was oh yeah, I see what the problem is. Yeah, I'm gonna prescribe you this and blah. And that was it. His exam ended at 1 p.m. After that, he ate a light meal at a hospital restaurant and passed the time reading a magazine. We know this because of a receipt we found in his wallet at his house. There was nothing suspicious at all about that. That day he had planned to go to a meeting in the assembly hall in the evening. He was supposed to return home with plenty of time to spare, but while he was on the train coming back, there was an accident. It seems it delayed him a bit, and he only got back to his house right before the meeting was scheduled to start. His family witnessed a very hectic mayor leaving to go to the assembly hall at the shrine. What was the meeting about? He disappeared on his way back home, right? The three families and the essential members of the town assembly were at the meeting. We think they were discussing how to deal with a serial freak death incident that had occurred again this year. Happened. Same thing. So then on his way home, the old man who had treated Shion like his own daughter, he was a dependable person who would encourage Shion whenever she felt pressured by anxiety, and yet Shion's painful voice struck me right in the heart. What's the matter? I was taken aback by how strange my own voice sounded. I wonder how it's like envisioned, like for the writers, like how they see Keiichi's voice would sound like. Because like if you like create your own like stories, you might have like that in mind. Like you'll have like how a character would appear in mind, but sometimes you can maybe even have like how you'd imagine they would sound as well. So that must be surreal for some writers that like get their stories turned into series or movies and stuff like that. Because then you're just like, I didn't envision them looking like that or sounding like that. It doesn't go with my vision, damn it! I was taken back by how strange my voice sounds. What was it that just surprised me? I squeezed my head with my hands to try and drag back out what I'd only realized for a split second. It's one of those annoying cases where you're just like, oh, and then you forget it instantly. It's like, ah, shit, flashback. It's like if you like exit a room and it's like, okay, I've got this in mind, and you get to the room where you're supposed to like get wherever you were thinking of getting, then you're like, ah, fuck, backtrack. And sometimes it helps. Remember, Keiichi Maibara, you just realized something important. Oh god. I uploaded like a part of my Book Next to Guild Darkness LP. What part was it? Can't remember, but it was the other day as a recording. It was the part where I was like going on about like something I'd realized like about the Pokemon series or something like that, and I was like, I don't know if I just don't know what it is, because that was how I spent like the whole recording, was me just trying to remember, and I couldn't remember it. I just remember thinking it's like, oh, there was something interesting, like an interesting note I'd thought of the series, and I was like, I should, yeah, that's interesting right there, and it was like, I was going to share that, and then it was like, fuck, I forgot what it was! Pain in the ass and shit like that happens. The night of Watanagashi. That was when everything started. That night Sonozaki-san died. The next morning, word of the incident had spread throughout Higurashi. Maybe this is... I've just thought of something as well. Maybe it's what he's thinking of. I don't know. They planned to talk about it during the evening meeting. The mayor, however, had an appointment at the hospital, and as planned, he went there without telling his family. He got a checkup at the hospital. Ate something. And then there was an unexpected delay on his train ride back. When he returned, the meeting was already about to start. The mayor changed clothes, got on his bicycle, and hurried to the assembly hall at the shrine as fast as he could. From when he heard about the incident on the night of Watanagashi until when he showed up at the assembly hall, everything he was doing that day was done in secret. During that time, nobody found out that he went to the hospital alone. He ate alone. And he got on the train alone. That all meant he had absolutely no contact with anyone else. You couldn't have even called him on the phone. Oh, I see where this is going. Okay, but what does that mean, Keiichi Maibara? Well, actually... Yeah, it does. Unless they track down people who actually, saw him, like, eating on his own, and then saw him catch the train on his own. Who was the person who saw that? Who's the one who reported? What the hell? I don't know. Well, I mean, there's like, I don't know. I was thinking of something else, though. Why does that matter, Keiichi Maibara? Ah. That sound effect, man. It's so, like, otherworldly, isn't it? It's like, how to describe it? Well, like I said, otherworldly, but like an underworld kind of thing. It's just like an abyss. Kei-chan, what should I do? What's wrong? Tell me. We aren't keeping secrets from each other, right? Old man Kimiyoshi, I told him everything. told him everything. I told old man Keiichi everything. And I told the mayor that we snuck into the ritual storehouse. Also that someone saw us and was out to get us. Right. But what then? Man Keiichi didn't get angry. He smiled and told me that if I was properly sorry about it, there was no way I'd be deemed away. He was really smiling and he told me to leave it to him. Sweat burst out of my body like bullets. They became one long strand and slid down from my forehead to my nose and fell. So then, what does it mean? Hey, Keiichi, my bar no more playing numb. When did she tell him? Oh. She said she'll learn of the incident from a phone call her father had made that morning. The mayor had left the house first thing in the morning for his appointment at the hospital. He didn't tell anybody where he was going. Nobody knew about him going to the university hospital. Furthermore, his train ride back to his house was delayed by an accident. As soon as he got home, he rushed out to the assembly hall. Then the meeting at the assembly hall began, and continued until it was dark out. You know what? Now that we're going over these details, I remember it all. Yeah, I remember it more and more the more we go through the plot. Then everyone left. Nobody saw him after the meeting was over. He just disappeared. Which meant, shit happened. Ibara-san, are you alright? If you're too hot, I can turn on the air conditioner. Another part of me was messing with my thoughts, demanding that I not think any further than that. My head was pounding violently, and the fluids packed inside it all blended together until nothing made sense. It was just about to settle, yet it had been smashed and melted in the blink of an eye, no longer able to retain its shape. Ibara-san, are you in there? Yeah. Ooishi-san lit yet another cigarette. It was yet another cigarette, but placed in this ashtray. Was it displaying the passage of time? Had my thoughts been frozen over for that long? I've tried to tell you everything I know. In return, feel free to tell me anything you want, my Ibara-san. My mind had become a gigantic oozing mess. My brain felt like it had been totally minced by the blades of a blender, and I couldn't think. No, don't clamp up again. If there are any misunderstandings, I'd like to clear them up first. I don't think you're the culprit here or anything. Ooishi-san gave his best attempt at an adult smile. I know the four of you snuck into the ritual storehouse that night. Everyone in the village heard rumors about it by the next day. That in itself means we should take you in for trespassing, but that isn't the problem. It's what was inside. What was inside that made the people who snuck in there end up as sacrifices? There wasn't anything. Since I said it, I regret to confirm my presence there, but I knew it didn't matter anymore. Was there really nothing in there? I mean, everyone who went in is being sacrificed one by one, you know. Even the mayor and Rick-chan who switched the lock on the door were sacrificed. What was inside that could have caused such terrible things to happen? I was far too tired of keeping quiet about this. Perhaps that was Ooishi-san's goal all along, but again, that didn't matter anymore. There was just a lot of torture devices that were used a long time ago. I looked around at them with everyone. Is that really all? That was really all. There was nothing terrible in there that would make you keep silent. Like a pile of psychoactive drugs. Maybe a secret poppy workshop. Perhaps there were mountains of Soviet or Chinese handguns. There weren't any suspicious wooden boxes or containers packed in there. There was nothing as exaggerated as what Ooishi-san was hoping for, but I felt like in a way there were plenty of terrible things hidden in there. From the perspective of someone who viewed the storehouse as secret, well or not, I thought I had seen some crazy things didn't matter in the slightest. The four of us broke the taboo. Punish us, that should have been what happened. We put in a request for a search warrant, thinking that there might have been some secrets hidden in the storehouse. It's been the sabotage of the century. They said it to be an insult to religious figures and something about the right to free religion in their constitution. Jeez. That's why I really didn't have any recourse but to ask you, since you went in there. There really was just old rusty dusty torture equipment. Nothing else stood out. And Tomodaga-san and Takana-san were only killed as punishment for having broken the taboo. I didn't have an answer for the only, but I suppose I won't bother hiding it anymore. You're the one to escape harm so far. Only one. Everyone but you has disappeared, and yet you alone are safe. What's the difference between you and them that would protect you, but bring harm to the others? That's what I want to know. Pay close attention to what you said there. There was something wrong with what Ooishi-san was saying. You alone. You alone. What? Wait a second. What do you mean by you alone? I'm saying that you alone have been left alive. Out of the 4 people who tiptoed in the storehouse for ritualing on Sunday, the only one left alive. Hold on. Shion was still. That's what I was thinking of. Just like when he was all like thinking, I was expecting him to be like, wait, what about Shion? He hasn't heard from her in, well, it was yesterday in plot, I guess, but still, you know, keeping contact in such a situation. Hiro Tomodaga-san and Mia Takana-san died that night, and Shion Sonozaki disappeared the next day. Only you are still safe and sound at this point. Why only you? I'm saying that's what I want to know. Shion disappeared? That's impossible! I unintentionally raised my voice, but I didn't care about that. Tomodaga-san died, Takana-san died, and Shion disappeared. When did she disappear? What is this guy talking about? Oh, well, now I thought you were long since awareness. This is the first time I've heard of it. She disappeared. When? Well, going back a bit, she disappeared the day after Watanagashi. How suspicious. Going back a bit? Stop saying stuff I don't understand. He must have been, maybe he talked about that while he was like lost in his own mind there. But didn't Shion call him after the Watanagashi? Said this would be the day after. Was that the day that she called him? But then she called him the day after that as well. Ooh, the plots. Shion Sonozaki spends the night at relatives' houses, depending on her mood on any given day, so no one thought much of not knowing where she was. She frequently takes days off from school too. Her teacher had been pretty troubled by it, hasn't he? I didn't ask about any of that. I'm asking you when Shion disappeared. He already said that, didn't he? I told you it was the day after Watanagashi. Which puts a little hole in all this, doesn't it? The fluids in my body all reversed direction. I lost my sense of balance and everything I could see started to warp and twist out of place. What shape? I simply couldn't endure it. Hang on. Shion had already disappeared. Then, that night, that phone call, who was that? She called me every night. Well, she didn't call him the previous night. She encouraged me. We vowed that we would do our best to live on and not be erased. Yes, that should have been a phone call with Shion. Should have been a phone call with Shion. She took breaks from class like it was nothing, and her family wouldn't listen when I told them, so I didn't bother calling the school in the end. So it ended up taking quite a while before we realized she disappeared. I felt a stabbing pain like needles were being pushed into every pore of my body. It started on my back and began spreading throughout the rest of me. When it had completely covered the surfaces of my skin, it began to worm its way inside my stomach as well. Don't you remember? We talked at the library the day after Watanagashi. Shion-san was there then. That was the last we saw her. No one knows where she's been since. I mean, you could see, like, the first phone call she did later that night being plausible, but the day after seems to be, like, a hole in all this, isn't it? That can't be. The day Ooishi said had only caught me, and she unbounded away, lying that she needed to go to work. Didn't she call me that night? Her job was at a restaurant called Angel Rock, right? She hasn't been there since that day. She's been completely absent ever since. The person at the restaurant couldn't get in touch with her. He was really working. Can't be. Can't be. It's only circumstantial evidence, what? After she left us at the library, but before she made it to work. I think it's appropriate to consider having disappeared during that time. Well, that puts even the first call into kind of like, what? Territory. Right after she ran away without me. It seems that you didn't know. Maybe if you had said something earlier, this would have gone more quickly. Now you understand, right? You're the only one left. You're the only survivor of the four who slipped into the ritual storehouse. Couldn't be. Just couldn't be. If something else happens, it would happen to you. I need you to understand that, my Bar-san. It can't be. It can't be. It can't be. She had already disappeared. It couldn't be. It couldn't be. I talked to her the day before yesterday. I talked to her last night. No, you didn't. That's a lie, Keiichi. The previous night was the night where he collapsed from exhaustion, so he couldn't have even talked to her on the phone. Just confusing the frickin' progression of the days and the plot now. She was going to call me again today. I mean, unless she called him in the day, I don't know, I've lost track of it as well. These freaking in-game novel days just drag on a long time, and they spread out with the uploads and recording and all that shit. It just, like, it becomes all confusing. That was Shion on the phone. Shion on the phone. It was from Shion. Shion has long since disappeared. Next will be you. Then who was on the phone those past nights? Who was on the phone those past nights? Who's on the phone those past nights? That can't be! It cannot be! Higurashi when my cry! Plot twist.